Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks very much, Pat, and welcome along to the second hour of Tip Today. Richard was on. He says, well done on allowing Cueva Power to shine a light into a corner that the politicians would prefer to keep in darkness. We also... what also needs to be addressed is the treatment that carers get when the person that they have devoted their lives to dies, and in many cases they have to go back to mainstream social welfare. It's horrific that no cognizance is given to the needs of the carer who put their lives on hold and now have a huge void to address along with their grief. Kind regards, that comes in from Richard. It's a very interesting point indeed, Richard, and thank you for that. Another list of Barb on to say, what a great sister to Alex. Well done to Cueva. And the future is safe for people we care for with you in it. I'm so moved by her today as a carer myself. I have to agree. The constant same voices and faces appear all of the time, and it just passes over then the very people that need to hear them, says Barb to us on 083 311 3311.
Financial advice with FOH Financial Limited. Tried, trusted and experienced advice. See FOH.ie. FOH Financial Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Francis O'Hanlon is with me in studio. Good morning to you, Francis.
Hi, Fran.
It's heartbreaking to hear those stories.
Oh, it's just awful, isn't it?
What carers are going through.
You just think, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like, you know, you're talking about heroes and role models. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it's beyond words, isn't it?
For certain. In fact, our first question to you is coming from a carer. Will you please ask, Francis, how do carers fit in with the auto-enrolment pension scheme with our employer?
You know, so again, you know, I'm not 100% sure of what they're asking here, but if they're asking me, are carers entitled to the auto-enrolment, the answer is no. But they are entitled to credit for the state pension. If they're asking if they're employed as a carer by a private entity or person, as may be the case, on a PAYE basis, then yes, the same rules apply to them as anybody else.
Any other business.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so assuming that they are over 23 and they're under 60, earning more than 20,000 per annum. Now, I'm going to make an important point here. Important point in that, again, let's go back to the rule of 20,000. Yes. Sometimes people might be carers in part, and they might be in receipt of an income from a couple of different sources. If the 20,000 is across multiple sources, then they are still under the auto-enrolment rule. So if they have a job where they're earning X as a carer, but they also have a part-time job and they're earning Y, it might be, again, that they're entitled to auto-enrolment across the aggregate.
So who auto-enrolls them then at that point?
Well, everyone. Like, if, again, back to the point being PAYE, if it's about the state, then no. Okay, because they get the credit. But if it's a thing that they're across different employments, then every single employer, say for example that we shared an employment between FOH Financial Limited and Tip FM, and between those two employments this person was earning over 23, under 60 and earning more than 20,000, then we're obliged, okay, both of us.
Right, so you would share the obligation.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So it's 1.5% of their salary with each entity. That's what has to go in for them.
Interesting.
And then the individual has to also match that.
Okay, that's very interesting. I didn't realise that. Yeah. I'm sure that the person who asked the question didn't either. Yes, thanks for that, Francis. Hi, Francis. Our company started a pension last week, putting in 1% to avoid the auto enrolment. Can they do that?
You know, and I say this tongue cheek. You couldn't be up to them, but you couldn't be up to them. Okay. So the answer is no, right? The government has squared that matter off already. A minimum of 3.5% must be paid into any group scheme between you and your employer. And if that I suppose percentage isn't met, then there's still potentially obligation under the auto enrolment scheme. So let's go back on that again. Say for this example, an employer set up 1% and the employee is putting in 1%, then that doesn't meet the criteria. So it has to be 3.5% between the two. Now, in this instance, if the employee is putting in 2.5 or 3% and the employer is putting in 1%, I would say, look, in good faith here, that it should be a minimum of 1.5%. I actually kind of dealing with a couple of people over time. I've kind of said to them, look, truth be told, it really needs to be a minimum of 3% from each of you, if you're looking for fair terms. And again, what's this about? This is about looking after the people that have no pension through their employer to date. And I get it. I am an employer. I get the costs of employing people. But, we have to look at what... Somebody has to pay the piper has to be paid, and the piper will stop playing down the line if we don't look after this. So again, it's like everything. It's like carers, it's like housing, it's like everything. Sometimes the right thing is the right thing because we're trying to look down the road, around the corner and up over the hill. Right, and you're trying to keep employees happy. Exactly. But what are they going to live on? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Fran, and then it's the strain. We've spoke about the strain on the state pension. I don't know how long have we been discussing this. So these are the pressure release valves that they're trying to put in place. Because listen to all the other things that are going on at the moment. Listen to primary schools not having the numbers in rural locations. I mean, that was all the talk last week. Yeah, all of these things, all of these channels are feeding in to the river of issue that's coming down the line in relation to pension. Yeah, and the birth rate, of course, is exactly dipping hugely. Hi, Francis. I got €3,000 in an insurance settlement. I would love to invest this. I would like something with no risk. Could you recommend something to me? No risk. So again, key word there is no risk. Yeah. There's actually no, in my opinion, there's no such thing as no risk, because even in something that's perceived to be no risk, as in deposits, cash, on post, whatever it be, there's risk because there's inflation risk. And please do not underestimate the effects of inflation. Yeah. They can ravage money. So, taking what this person has asked, I would say yes, if they want to do something with perceived no risk, do something like prize bonds. But again, beware, if you're not winning money, then your money is eroding, because the enemy of prize bonds is inflation. And if you don't win anything, you don't win anything, but your money is guaranteed. In other words, if you buy a prize bond for €1,000 and it's a thing that you don't win anything, you decide you want to cash it out, I think if you hold it for 90 days, you'll get your €1,000 back. But it's about the winnings that are tax-free as well, I might add. But if you're not winning anything, you're not keeping up with inflation, you have risk whether you know it or not. So you're losing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. I mean, let's go into fixed deposit. There's another alternative. They might say, I don't want the hassle of walking over to the post office and getting the forms or blah, 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 blah. I go into my own bank. And if you go with something like a fixed deposit rate, that's fine again. But understand that if you are only getting 1.5% or 1% net per annum, if inflation is above that level, you are losing money, whether you can see it or not. And many of us don't take that into account. No, absolutely. But again, why have we the lowest? Is it the lowest in Europe? Yeah, I think it is. And again, and we mentioned this last year. Yeah. There is serious push from Europe to look more towards, like, if you look at the model of the United States and the amount of people that are invested in different instruments over there, be it stocks, shares, they're always talking about their 401k, so we need to get somewhat towards that in Europe, where we start investing our money more wisely, and that includes taking on risk, but knowing that this risk is further down the line, and knowing that you're diversified, because you need to grow your money. Again, feeding back into eventual retirement, having more money available to you, but taking considered risk. And again, diversification being key. But of course, competition. We need more. absolutely.
Competition where the banks are concerned.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Hi, Francis. I'm 25 years old. I currently live at home. I want to start looking at a mortgage. What exactly do I need savings-wise? And how do I go about applying for one? Now, we don't know if this person is in a relationship, do we?
No, and again, I'm just going to say, look, ideally, first thing you should be doing is consulting a financial broker or advisor. I know people are saying, of course you're going to say that, Francis, but I'm not. I mean, you need impartial advice where you're going to somebody who knows the broader market and what's available out there, and that can set you up and put you on the right track. And it might be that you're 6 months, 12 months or 3 years away, or if somebody has a damaged credit rating, they could be a lot longer. So you need somebody that can look at your overall situation and put you on the right track, tell you where you're at, put you on the right track. And it's not just about saving for your eventual mortgage, but it might be how best to save. Because it might be that if I'm looking at the moment and I'm looking at younger people who are maybe have the mindset, I need to save, but they could be 7-10 years away from buying a house, then it might be that they have the time to be investing maybe in equities that they might get a better return, rather than somebody who's saying, oh no, I want to buy in 3 years, then they're more deposit based. But again, it's just to have a better sense of your finances. I would say that you need to seek advice in that respect. So sorry, after that, I would just add,
yes,
by the way, that people who use a financial advisor, it's well documented, end up far better off in their financial lives than people that don't.
Okay. So simple as that. But as a rule, can you give us
you should have 10% of the house in a deposit. Okay, of course, I'm not getting into the shared equity schemes and the help to buy schemes. They're all there. But as a rule, have 10%. And it might be, you have to show affordability. And some people go, oh my God, that kind of makes sense, because you're taking on a big commitment. You really want to be committed to it. And that normally is, I've been saving X amount per month. I would say I'd love to see somebody doing it from 12 months, but let's say 6. Because it means that they know what it's like to have to put that money away. They're saving it at the moment, but they're going to be repaying it down the line. So there's a reason why they need to show that they can afford to save. And also the amount, they need to show that they can afford the amount of the mortgage that they're going to be paying plus 2%, stress it by 2%. And again, that's where your financial advisor will come into play and say, this is a mortgage, this is the mortgage that you're looking at, this is the house you want to buy, this is how much you need to put away, and this is how you should do it. So again, if sometimes parents or family might help somebody with a deposit, that's fine. But, I don't want to see somebody, well, first of all, the banks wouldn't even tolerate it. I personally don't want to see somebody coming in saying, I want to buy a house, my parents have given me 20,000 or 30,000 and they've never saved a shilling, bar for maybe electric picnic tickets or something. Yeah. So I want to see somebody who's committed to buying a house. This is a process. This is, big boy or girl commitment, and that basically that they're showing that they can afford it and that they're saving on top of, if they get a gift, happy days, lovely, great for them, but on top of that.
All right, I'm going to skip a couple if you don't mind, Francis. I'm intrigued with this one. I can't wait for your answer. And I want to buy a car for 7,000. I have that amount in savings, but I'm wondering if it would be better to get a loan and pay it back by the month. I'm just afraid of using all of my savings, and I'm very new to loans. It's a very good question.
Absolutely. I understand that fear totally. Yeah. I mean, I would always say don't borrow unless you have to. But what I need to be mindful here, because why would I say don't borrow if you have to? Because if you borrow, you're paying interest. And if you're not getting as much on deposit as you're paying on the loan, you're better off buying something outright.
Yes.
But the question here is, people need fallback. Okay, so when it comes to savings, I don't know this person's earnings or their financial situation. So I want to know how much of a fallback they would need to have. If they have that, and say within their savings as is, I would say buy your car outright, and don't be paying 8, 10% interest. If you hit a bump in the road,
if it leaves you with zero savings,
then I wouldn't do that. You need fallback.
You do.
Or you need to know that you've the instrument for fallback, i.e. your earnings, that you can replenish it. So let's say somebody has 10,000 euros saved and that they have a car to buy for 7, and they're comfortable that 3,000 be enough because they're earning and they can save the amount that they were going to repay in the loan, then I'm fine with that. Buy your car outright. If it's a thing that you need, I always say this to people, don't forget, if you're good financially and if you need money down the road, you can always borrow then. Maybe at a lesser extent, but you don't have to say, I'm buying a car, I have to borrow. Not necessarily. So
Right.
I would say, ideally, don't borrow.
Yeah.
But
The only thing
as
I'd
long
say,
as you fall back and you're adding to it.
far be it from me to give financial advice to anybody, but if you're buying a car for 7k, you're probably going to have issues down the road with the car after a period of time as well. So just to keep that in.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you can look at borrowing, or it
Yeah,
might be
I
that you have to upgrade then.
I suppose. Would you get out the crystal ball there and have a look at the markets for 2026 and predictions? Is that impossible with the whole geopolitics now at this point?
Yeah, it is. It's always impossible, really. I mean, look, there's certain indicators and there's certain, positive and negative, and a lot of negatives out there at the moment with all this going on. But despite all of that, the markets are still going up. Gold is still going up. Silver is still going up.
Yeah, the silver story is remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. Silver and gold. But it's interesting. Last week, silver and gold took a right dip. And then they came back up, not fully, but they've come back up again. And anyone that put all their money into gold took a serious hit last week.
Right. But
so
now
again,
it's back. Now it's back.
Yeah, it's back to us, not fully. But again, people need to understand that we talked about diversification earlier. And you need to diversify so you don't put all your eggs in any one basket, even if the basket is gold, even if the basket is silver. Normally, silver and gold are kind of you're hedging your bets. There's concerns out there. People use them as kind of a safe haven.
Yes.
And there was concerns about, normally that would be the US government, 10-year government bond, which there's concerns around as well. Maybe not as much now with the new Fed chief announced.
Yeah.
But there are so many things out there. So what I would say to people, let's go back to basics. You need to know your own attitude to risk. You need to know what's going to leave you able to sleep at night versus what would concern you. You need to know your own timeline. When will you need this money that you're looking at investing? You need to think short, medium and long term. But you definitely should diversify. I mean, again, I looked the other day back over 7 years and 30 years on one of the funds we use all the time. Excuse me. And if I'm looking at one particular fund for the last 7 years, now bear in mind, as we sit here in February of 2026, the last 7 years have been up and down. We've had a pandemic, we've had wars, we've geopolitical tensions left, right and centre. But despite all of that, this managed fund, not wild, medium risk managed fund, since 2019, its high has been 19.73%. In the year 2019, its low was actually the year of 22. It was negative 17%. All in all, it's done 83.42% in the last 7 years.
Wow.
So again, there's been extreme ups and downs in that, but as long as you have a timeline where you can invest, go a step further. So it's basically had negative years in 7. Go a step further. Let's look over 30 years. So this would be pension money. Okay, so if you're looking in 6 years the last 30 years, there's been 6 negative years. But if you were invested in that same fund for the last 30 years, you'd have done 877.54% gross. So, its high was in 1997, 35.86. Its low was in 2008, funny enough. And that was when it went to a negative 31%. So what I'm saying is, don't worry about the markets. There's always going to be something that rocks markets. Let's go back to what we always say. I don't have a crystal ball. you don't have a crystal ball, but what you know is your own timeline. You know your comfort zone, and you know, oh, well, I'm going to need that money in, no, that's pension money. I'm happy to take risk on that because I'm buying in on the drip,
Right.
and I'm not going to need that for 30 years, 20 years, 15 years. But that money, no, I need that because I'm buying a house. No, I'm hoping to buy that house in 3 years. Or no, actually, that's education money for my kids. That's going to be away for 10 years.
But that's where you need the advice, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, yeah. And speaking of which, if people want to talk to you, Francis, how can they?
Yeah,
do
no
that?
problem. They can contact the office, which is 052 612 9487. I had to think about that. Or our website is www.foh.ie.
All right. Always good to see you, Francis.
Thanks, man.
Thanks very much indeed. We'll take a break back in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.